Joe and his buddy Jim were known around town as a little less than clever. One day, they're digging a ditch while their foreman sits on a lawn chair in the shade drinking lemonade. It's a hot day, and Joe starts wondering why the foreman isn't doing any of the work. "Hey, Jim," he asks, "how come we're down here digging this ditch and boss is up there drinking lemonade in the shade?"
"Dunno,"
Jim replies, and they go back to digging. After a while, Joe decides he needs to find out. "Well, I'm gonna go ask him," says Joe. He climbs up out of the ditch and walks over to the foreman. "Hey, boss, how come me and Jim are down there digging the ditch and you're up here drinking lemonade?" The foreman looks at Joe and says,
"Well, because I have intelligence and you don't."
Joe scratches his head for a moment, then asks, "What's intelligence?" The foreman considers this and says,
"Well, here, let me get you some."
He then holds his hand up in front of the trunk of a big oak tree and says,
"Hit my hand as hard as you can."
Joe shrugs, rears back, and swings. At the last moment, the foreman pulls his hand out of the way, and Joe punches the tree instead. "What'd you do that for?" cries Joe. The foreman smiles.
"I just gave you some intelligence."
Joe heads back into the ditch, considering this. After a while, Jim asks him,
"So what did he say?"
Joe replies, "He say it's because he has lots of intelligence, and he just gave me some of that intelligence." Jim asks,
"What's intelligence?"
Joe replies, "I'm not really sure, but he gave me some, and I'm gonna give you some too." Holding his hand in front of his face, Joe says, "Hit my hand as hard as you can."